there, Jo here for another Time for Tea Designs video. I hope you're all really well today. Today's video was recorded live during our Facebook Live last night. And I started off the card just by cutting down a A2 size card base. And I'm using my trimmer there just to help me size up that card base. I also used an A2 nesting die set to cut two panels slightly smaller than my card base. And I'm using these new dies, the landscape edge dies from the last release, to cut out some backgrounds for my card today. So I've cut out two of the cloud strips that you'll see here, and I've also cut out the two landscape slope dies. So this is going to help us build up our scene, and you can see here that I'm just trying out the different layers of card there to see which ones will work for my scene. And I've decided that this is the slope I'm going to use, but I want that same straight edge that we've used for the panels themselves. So I've just die cut that with that same nesting die. For my clouds, I'm just inking those up with some distress inks now. I'm using the Wild Honey, the brand new shade, the Crackling Campfire, which I'm absolutely in love with. And I'm also going to use some Seedless Preserve on that top panel. But before I get to that, I'm just going over those mid shades to make sure that those blend really well together. I've added a little bit of the Crackling Campfire to the very edge of that top portion of my cloud piece here. And then I'm going in with that Seedless Preserve, and I will blend that together again with some of that Crackling Campfire. I'm protecting my project using a little bit of Heavy Doodle memo tape on my fingers, just so that I don't get any ink fingerprints all over my work. I've used a little bit of this chipped sapphire as well, just on the very edge of that top piece of my clouds. And I'm also going to use this to go around my card base. I'm not going right the way into the center because we're going to cover all of that up. But I wanted the outside edge of my card to be in this really rich dark blue. And I do love this color, this chipped sapphire. It works really well for creating more of an autumn type background, which is the look that I'm going for. So now I've got my my sky completed, I'm moving on to that grassy slope area, and I'm using some mowed lawn first of all, and then a little bit of I think this was fossilized amber that I used just to add a little bit of a yellow tinge to the top of my grassy bank so that it blends into that first yellow cloud. I'm darkening up my grass with some, I think this is the forest moss. And this will just give it a little bit of a darker shade, just so that it fits with the tones of the rest of the card. Just used a bit of washi tape to attach each of these cloud panels together, because we're going to be attaching them flat and keeping them in that same formation. And I'm using some of my Fine-Tech metallic gold paint to flick some splatters of gold paint onto our sky, which I think looks really, really well. So I'm happy now with our background and give myself a little round of applause there. And now we're going to move on to our images. Now, I did have some of my images already stamped and die cut, and some of them coloured as well. So I'm going to use the Bear's Picnic stamp set. I absolutely love this set. You can use it in conjunction with the Bearing Gift stamp set as well. There's so many different uses for this, and you could create so many wonderful scenes. So it was really difficult to choose which of these little characters that I wanted to use on my card today. But we're going to use some of the images that I've already stamped and coloured up. So I'm just popping those into this little cloud tray for safekeeping. I was considering using the tree from the Woodland Critter set, but as that's currently out of stock, and I do have these brand new dies as part of our scene builder set, I really wanted to use those on the scene today. This little rug is from the plaid background stamp that is part of the new release, and I've already stamped that out and fussy cut it, but I just wanted a smaller white edge around that, so I've just trimmed that down to size. And now I'm going to colour up some of our white cardstock to match the grass that we've already coloured previously. And I've got some of this lovely brown cardstock that I believe is by Linda Chapman that I'm going to cut out our little tree trunk. So now we're moving on to colouring up our little bears, and these bears are so much fun to colour. I'm going to use some of my E shades, so some shades of brown, just to colour up these little guys. And I'm starting with my lightest shade, as I always do, to lay down a bit of colour and to saturate my paper. And then the mid-tone colour is going to be the main colour of our little bear's body, so I'm using that around the edges and moving that in towards the centre so that there is a highlight of that lightest colour right down the middle and along the tops of his paws there. And then I use the very darkest shade just where I feel there would be shadow, so where there is an overlap, where his sandwich is in front of his little mouth, and where his arms overhang his body, just anywhere where there may be natural shade. So really easy to colour, nothing too fancy. I'm using a really pale shade, I think it's the E50 shade, to add a little bit of colour to the sandwich there. A little bit of rose to the cheeks, and then I'm going to use the shades, I think it's the E20 shades, E21 and E23 I've used there to colour up the little picnic basket, and also for the donut. For our little mouse, I'm going to use E70 and E71. I love this combination of Copic colours. I think they work so well together for colouring up your critters. And then for the rug, I decided that I wanted to use colours that would match with our background. So I'm using the RV66, which is a really great colour for matching up with our seedless preserve. And I'm also using the Prussian blue, which is the B39. That will be the contrasting colour on our rug there. And again, that works really well with the chipped sapphire. So I felt that really tied things together. I'm not using any other shading. I'm just keeping this really simple. Too much detail is not really required here because we will be adding our critters on top of this blanket. So you won't see an awful lot of it. But I just wanted to make sure that colour popped through and really matched with the rest of our project. I've picked out another RV shade, the RV63, which is a lighter shade of the pinks there. And I'm going to use that on our donuts, but I'm teaming that with some of the RV66. And I'm doing some tip-to-tip colouring because I don't have a mid-tone between these two colours. So I've created my own just by using that tip-to-tip method. For the sandwich, I've just added a little bit of the yellow to create the effect of a cheese sandwich for our little vegetarian bear. And now I'm going to use the coordinating dies to cut these little guys out. And as as I came to add the coordinating die, I realised that I'd missed that little bit of the bear's body behind his donut there. So I just added a quick bit of colour to make sure that image was complete. So they've just been through my die cutting machine, and while they were cutting, I was preparing the rest of the elements for my background. And I do just want to add a little bit of darker green to the top of our tree. And then where these die cuts are in that little bit of foliage, I can poke in my tree trunk, and that looked really, really sweet. And onto our sentiment, I've cut a piece of white cardstock and I'm just adding the sentiment, "You are the very best," with some of my Versamark Onyx Black ink. And I'm using one of the dies from our Speech Bubble coordinating die set So this set actually coordinates with the speech bubble stamps, but you can use it on its own, which is great. And I think I'm going to be using this set a lot for putting out my sentiments, because it's the perfect way to add a really sweet sentiment to your card. So now we can start assembling all of our elements, which is the bit that I really love. So I'm just making sure that I've lined this all up correctly, and this will fit onto my card front and leave an equal amount of border all the way around the outside. And I'm using some liquid glue to apply all of my clouds flat to my card base. And I love how these colours pop against that chipped sapphire background. I think they look really rich and warm, and make me have all the autumn feels that I think we're all having at the moment. I'm using some of my foam tape to add that slope of grass, and then some liquid glue just to pop our little tree behind that raised up element, which I think works really well to add a little bit of dimension to the front of the card. And once I'm happy with my arrangement of my little guys, I'm going to use some more liquid glue to add these to our rug on the grassy slope there. And now I've pulled out all of the little elements that we'd already coloured previously, so that I can add these to that picnic rug. So we're going to have our little block of cheese on a plate with a little knife next to it. And the little apple will sit there, and I'm just using liquid glue to attach all of these characters and these extra elements. So I've added my little ant there, and I felt that the sky probably needed a little bit of something, so I pulled out another stamp from the Up, Up and Away stamp set. So after adding my sentiment with some more foam tape and adding another little ant that I felt was just added a bit of balance, I'm now going to use some more of that Versamark ink to add a few of these little birds to our background. I forgot what they were called then. I've added a little trail behind each of our ants there, just using a black pen and some white Jelly Roll pen. Will add some highlights around each of our characters and onto that tree as well. I also used some black glaze pen to glaze our little ants so that they pop a little more. And then I've used some sparkle on our donut. Now, I did feel that donut wasn't quite sparkly enough, because I do like a bit of sparkle. So I've squeezed some stickles out onto a spare piece of cardstock, and I'm using my paintbrush just to add a little bit of that sparkle as glaze onto our donut icing. So that's the card finished. Those were all the inks that we used there, so that you can take a screenshot of that and use those inks yourself if that's what you want to do. And I was asked if I would do a quick insert on the card as well. So as we've done in previous videos recently, I'm just using some of the stamps from the set, just with some ink that we've used to coordinate with the rest of our project, and just stamping some little images on the inside of our card. So if those butterflies are from the Up, Up and Away stamp set, and then the rest are from the Bear's Picnic. I do think that adds just a little bit of something to the inside of the card as well, which is a lot of fun. I do hope that you liked our card today. I was really pleased with how it came out, and it was so much fun to make. So I really hope that it's inspired you to try something similar. If you did like the video today, we'd love it if you could like and subscribe to our channel, and we'll be back again with more videos for you again real soon. Take care, guys. Stay safe, and we'll see you soon. Bye-bye now.